Hello and welcome to part 3 of the Ultimate Freedom series, a course to show you how forgiveness can help you to let go and be free to reclaim your power, and that it can actually be quite easy once you know what to do. I am very touched by the messages I have received so far, especially to see how some of you put the first steps into practice right away to tackle their issues. Someone wrote to me, for instance, and I'm summarizing here: "Thank you for this little course. I've known this work for a very long time, and what fascinates me is that I always hear something new, or that another peel of the onion is gone. Your sentence, 'I forgive the person but not the deed,' really has stuck with me. I'm slowly realizing how deep my lack of trust is, and that I'm now allowed to heal on a much deeper level. But the first step of becoming aware has been taken, and I accept it and let it work." And that's exactly what the first 2 modules were about making people aware that A, it's possible to forgive, and B, if you're stuck, it just needs a different, or let's say a wider perspective. In the first video, we busted some myths that aren't true, but that might stop you from letting go. And in part 2, I talked about what the building blocks are that make this process so effective, and why the individual steps work so well from my point of view. For instance, understanding the other person's point of view and the dynamic behind someone's behavior without condoning it can open the door just enough for forgiveness. But also seeing that it's not necessary to understand why the other person acted the way they did to really let it go. It can make it easier, but often it just shows me that I cannot grasp the full understanding for someone else's individual background anyway. Then we looked at the energetic connection that happens when people communicate with each other, or when they are in some form of relationship. It was in 1990 that a scientist called Gary F. Proponen discovered the famous DNA phantom effect. In short, they were able to prove for the first time how our DNA affects the field around us. And in combination with some other studies, they found out how much our intention and emotions can influence not only our own DNA, but those of others. I don't have the time to dive further into this here. For this work, it is enough to know that everything is connected by an energy field, and that our intention can influence this field. This is proven. And these connections that we build when we communicate with someone often remain and linger even after we separate, and don't consciously hold the intention or these thoughts anymore. I would even say that in 95% of the time, we hold unconscious intentions. Our expectations, disappointments, fears, etc., they are all intentions, and they're like energetic cords that attach us to each other and can actually influence us a lot, especially if we get stuck in a loop of anger and not wanting to forgive. We reattach again and again, and if intentions can hold the connection, intention can also disconnect it. Makes sense, right? You just have to keep in mind to actively cut these cords. I often think this sounds so woo-woo and out there, but the results speak for themselves. And if from this course you implement just one thing, then make it the cutting the cords. You will make a massive step forwards towards feeling free and staying more in your own energy. Then we talked about the third step, the declaration of intent, that I now forgive. And even though this may not feel real at first, and it won't, it will become much easier and more real with every round you do it. If you haven't seen either one of the last 2 videos, you can find a link to the first 2 parts in this email or just below this video. So today I want to talk about how you can bring the whole thing home and make it yours, so you can see instant results and constant results. For me, tools and processes always have to be easy to implement. If I always have to meditate for an hour first, I don't really care, and I don't find it suitable for everyday life. Of course, it makes sense to take time in the beginning to understand what we're doing, to feel the change in the single steps. For me, however, it starts getting exciting when we can use it during our day, in passing, so to speak. And that goes for the big issues as well as the small ones in everyday life. And once we have got rid of the big issues and we have internalized the single steps, something kicks in that I call instant forgiveness. Today, when someone honks at me in the street, when a friend behaves differently than I expected, when I make a big mistake, or when the collective society challenges me, I see how intrinsically my system starts the process immediately to keep me in my power or to bring me back there. And that is what I wish for you. Instant forgiveness on the go, anytime, anywhere. I woke up the other day and I was thinking, forgiveness needs to be the new pandemic. It needs to go viral, and it definitely needs to go mainstream because it changes lives. It changes relationships. And in my opinion, it has the potential to change the world. Of course, it's sometimes easier and sometimes it takes time, but taking these steps is worth it and will bring you more inner peace and completely different results when it comes to your goals. Let it be your career or your relationships or whatever. You will no longer be the victim of something that happened in the past, but you will carry yourself with a completely different sense of self and self-confidence. But how do we get to the different peels of the onion, as I called it in the last video? You have to keep asking why. Let's start off light. If someone honks at me on the street, I can jump out of my car and start screaming at him, or I can ask, why is he honking at me? Because it annoys him that I'm driving so slowly while I'm looking for a house number. Why does that annoy him so much? Because he probably has to go somewhere quickly. Why does he have to go somewhere so quickly? Well, maybe he's running late for a meeting, or maybe his rental car is running out, or his wife is in labor, or maybe he's just impatient, and maybe he's just an ass. The point is, I don't know his motives and therefore don't want to judge from my own filters. If I imagine that his wife is just going into hospital, I can very quickly forgive him for honking. If I imagine that he's simply an asshole, less so. Since I cannot know, I always choose the thought that keeps me most in my power. I don't know what's going on with him right now. I assume he has his reasons. You see, you're becoming kinder and you stay in your power. And you use a similar strategy to get to the different layers when we talk about forgiveness. Let's stay with love and breakups, because that seems to be a topic that appeals to many here. Let's say your wife has left you. Then you start to forgive her by going through the processes that we did last time. But you are still angry and hurt. So ask yourself, why am I still hurt? What about that situation still hurts or angers me today? She was dishonest. Okay, forgive her dishonesty through the steps of the process. But something is still nagging. You ask yourself again, what about that situation still hurts and angers me today? She doesn't see what she has done and shows no remorse. And that is actually what I expect. Oh, now it's about my expectations. I forgive myself for my expectations and for holding on to them. You can see the construct now unraveling more and more. What about that situation then or now still hurts or angers me today? We couldn't even salvage a friendship. I forgive her for not wanting a friendship, and then me for holding on to those expectations again. You're getting lighter and lighter, but there's still sediment. You ask again, what about that situation still hurts or angers me today? I trusted life and I trusted my intuition, and this trust in myself is now gone. Here again, there are two steps that are needed. I forgive life, the universe, God, or whatever word you need. Here, it's a little bit more difficult to understand the other side, of course. There is no conditioning with God or the universe. So I like to ask a little differently. What could I learn from this situation? This is shifting the point of view again. You might find that you gain strength through this, learn to set boundaries or to be better by yourself. Then you cut the cords along your body to the situation and give the same declaration of intent, life, I forgive you. But then the second part is still missing. Remember, we said you have cut yourself off from your intuition, lost trust in yourself, and bury your talents because you experienced that breakup. And so again, you go another level deeper and forgive yourself. Someone asked me once if we're not just lie to ourselves when we shift this perspective. And that's a very valid question that I would like to answer with a counter question. Aren't we lying to ourselves all the time when we tell ourselves that we cannot be better or behave differently because this or that happened in the past? That we can no longer love because we have been hurt? That we can't perform better because our father was so strict? That I can't trust because my role model lacked integrity? Don't believe everything you think. That's why I say, no, we don't lie to ourselves. We are just using the same strategy we have always used, but this time to get our power back and not to keep ourselves down. Call me strange, but I want to be in control of my power and not give it to some event that happened to me in the past. Okay, take a deep breath in and out. I hope these steps help you to understand the construct of forgiveness a little bit better and why you might have felt stuck before or it felt like it doesn't work. And the best part is you can and you should use this process for every area of your life to reclaim more of your power. To show you what is possible, I want to tell you about Daniela. She has gone through the Power of Forgiveness course, and she was telling me that she was not well at all in December 2020. There were unresolved emotions from a past professional relationships getting to her. She couldn't work for months because of the pandemic, and her faithful dog was seriously ill and later that year passed away. And that's just to name a few. In short, she had a load to deal with, and she was infinitely tired. She said to me, at the same time, I felt like I no longer wanted to be afraid, worried, constantly fighting it, and then trying to put myself back together again. I just wanted to have a free heart again and my laughter back. Then she came across my new work, including The Power of Forgiveness. And I quote, "I can report with joy, I am now doing great. I am happy, debt-free, largely free of fear, and better at everything than ever before. I've recognized my talents and abilities and I'm living them. For me, forgiveness is the key to liberation, especially self-forgiveness. With self-forgiveness, I free myself from my own cage of guilt and shame. With the help of forgiveness, I have finally found peace in my family, settled my father's estate with initially intransigent institutions, found good solutions with clients that weren't that nice, and I have a positive bank balance. The most wonderful result for me personally, though, is that I 100% trust my gut feeling again." I mean, I hope you can see why, for me, forgiveness is so important and why I say it needs to go viral. It can change your world, every aspect of it. Imagine you feel that free again, free to love again, free to be loved, free to be more successful, to be healthier, to make your own choices, and finally free to live the life you want to live. That's what it's all about and why I hope you implement these tools as much as possible. And there we are. I loved making these videos for you, and there's one more coming. In my next one, I will dive a little bit deeper and talk about the 5 different ways of forgiveness. I mentioned briefly that I created a course called The Power of Forgiveness, Ultimate Freedom, which is the next step to really create more freedom on all levels. If you feel it is time for change, I strongly recommend you watch out for that video. I believe we really have more important things than to hold on to the past that doesn't serve you anymore, right? And that's why I'm taking 30 people through this method of forgiveness. If you are serious about having more ease and freedom in your life, then I would love to tell you more about this program. I just completed this course in German for the first time, and as strange as this may sound, the results have even exceeded my hopes for this. And that just shows how important forgiveness is in these strange times. Like Petra, one of the participants, said, "I have finally found out what it is like to love myself and to stand by who I am. No one could have given me a greater gift." Or Gildas wrote, "This course really carried me through these very challenging times. Guido gets to the heart of the issues and the participants to the solutions." There will only be a few days to register because we will start very soon. So please watch the next video as soon as it arrives. And if you would like to read more of the testimonials, please just go to guidoszymanski.com/freedom. As always, I would love your feedback, your comments and questions about the last 3 modules, and want to hear how you get on with them. Feel free to post directly under these videos here, or if that's not possible, just email me. And I'm really looking forward to telling you more about the new course, The Power of Forgiveness, Ultimate Freedom. And that video should arrive very soon. I see you then.